All right, so today I decided I'm not gonna do a Kaizen vlog. I'm just gonna do more of like a video essay, like more like I'm talking to the camera and stuff. But I will do a little tiny little bit piece of a vlog and I'll show you guys how I make my tea. So right here we have a mug that I got as a gift. Comes with a pretty nice, strainer and stuff. So what I usually do is this is pure cane sugar. I get that. And I don't really measure it. I just throw some in there. Like that much. Then I go ahead. I get the strainer. This is what I use. Organic ginger tea. It's 100% ginger. Nothing added. Right here. And then you just go ahead and rip off the little string attached. Throw that in there. And then we have our scorching hot boiling water. Guys, get a kettle, bro. Like this 100% like saves so much time because you boil it like 2 cups of water in literally 3 minutes. But I go ahead, I just pour it on. And then the good thing about this mug is it comes with a little cover, and that way you could let the tea steep. I usually let it stay there for about like 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and that's usually enough to, get all the flavors out so you get the most out of the tea. But basically today I want to talk about the art of delayed gratification. So recently I just turned 25 years old, and I feel like turning this age literally came, it was like a switch flipped in my head. And I was like, okay, I'm mid 20s. It's time to kind of, start looking into the future and looking how I could, build a better future for myself. I kept coming back to this idea of delayed gratification. And the reason why I put the title The Art of Delayed Gratification is because it really is kind of an art form, the way how you set everything up, and not expecting returns on, your investment, what you invested in your time and stuff like that. You're not expecting returns until like years, a decade later, 2 decades later. So I'll say my early 20s, like, 20 to 25, I have made a lot of mistakes, but I do not regret not a single one of those mistakes because I learned so much from the mistakes that I've made. And I feel like my later 20s, 25 to 30, is going to really be focused on dealing with the repercussions of my mistakes from my early 20s, and also use what I learned from those mistakes and apply them to, my later 20s, right? Another big part of, living life for 25 years is realizing that a year, 2 years, even 3 years is really not a long time. Like for you to make a plan, if you make a 3 year plan, it's actually going to fly by in an instant. You should never think, okay, I got to rush this. I got to, speed this along. That's a mistake I made in my early 20s. And nothing really good is gained quick, right? It takes time, and the longer it takes, the stronger that foundation is, and the harder it is to crumble and fall, right? That's why delayed gratification is so important. Make those plans, make those 5 year plans, make those 10 year plans, make those 15 year plans, because you 5 years in the future, you 10 years in the future is going to completely thank yourself and be so proud that the day you decided, okay, I'm going to do this, not expecting a reward, not expecting results for the next few years. Like that's very important. So a really, really, really important thing in life that takes a long time to accumulate is wealth, right? So there's three different types of incomes. And that's what I really want to focus on in, my late 20s, going into my 30s, building different types of incomes. You could have multiple sources of income, but the type of income is very important. You need to have that diversity. So the first type of income that I'm going to be focusing on is earned income. Then the second is going to be passive income, and that's going to lead into investment income. So if I was to explain earned income is like if you go to a job and you work, the money you get from that job is your earned income. If I was to give you examples of passive income, I would say like if you do real estate, you own properties, or maybe even YouTube or social media, you could consider that as passive income for reasons that I'm going to explain later. And then the third type of income that I want to build on is investment income. So that's stuff like savings accounts, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, dividends, maybe capital gains, stuff like that is investment income. So three different types of incomes. And of course, you could have 10, 15, 20 sources of income within those types of income, right? So the first challenge, right, is earn income. It's really hard for people to push past a certain threshold of earned income. And really, your earned income is your starting point, unless you get lucky in the other two types of income. So I figured, what is a way that I could increase my earned income? I fell onto something that I haven't been really too excited, about, even approaching, which is education. So the funny thing about education, right? You could go and get an education and it could cost you like 100,000, right? And then you could get a job that only pays you 60,000 a year or 50,000 a year. Or you could go and get an education, only cost you like 10,000, and you could be making close to six figures, right? And I believe that's what I was missing at my first attempt at getting an education is the cost, the investment cost to me didn't make any sense. I went to college for 1 year, and within that year, I racked up around $30,000 worth of debt. And if you think about it, just do the math. 30,000 times 4, you get 120,000. So at the end of my 4 years of college, I would have had about $120,000 worth of debt. I wasn't really pursuing any degree or major that would have really made sense to, go into $120,000 in debt. So I made the decision, bad decision, right? To, I'm going to do it on my own, I'm going to make my own way and stuff like that. The correct decision would have been to be like, okay, I'm not going to go to the college that I'm going to because it's too expensive. Instead, I'm going to go to community college where it's probably going to be free or close to it, and, try to pursue the education that way. But, like I said, your early 20s, you learn from your mistakes. And this is why I've decided I'm going to go ahead and pursue education again. And that's not the only reason why. These 6 years, since I've left college, right? I have not been mentally and intellectually stimulated at all. I've been doing very monotonous jobs, jobs that I feel like I'm just wasting my potential doing these jobs. Yeah, I haven't been intellectually stimulated at all. I'm constantly bored. The only time I was ever, actually excited and I felt like my brain was being, worked was when I was actually running a business, which, by the way, still one of the proudest things I've ever done, even though it kind of ended in technical failure. I still sold thousands and thousands of dollars worth of products. So it's still something I'm still proud of to this day. But I need a challenge. I need to challenge myself intellectually. And yeah, education is a good way to do that. So I decided I'm going to become a rad tech. Now, the reason why I decided to become a rad tech is because looking at it investment wise, you got to look at a time investment. It's going to take 1 year to do my prereqs, and it's going to take 2 years to do the program. So it's a 3 year investment, right? I'm coming out with a degree, and the total cost of attending school will be about like 15,000, 10 to 15,000 in total, if not less. And then when I get out, I'm going to have a really high income. Average rad tech in Connecticut earns around $90,000. I think highest paid, you're in the highest percentile. You're making uh, around 150,000 and stuff. If you go to Cali, average in Cali is like 95,000. So yeah, you really recoup on your investment like straight away. I feel like that's a good decision. I've done extensive research, watched a lot of vlogs, watched a lot of videos, read a lot of articles, read a lot of, I guess, Reddits and all that stuff. And I've come to the decision that living the rad tech life, even though I don't want to live it forever, I'm going to explain that later, but living the rad tech life is a lot better than living, the paycheck to paycheck, hustle and bustle, grinding that I've been doing for the last 5 years. So that's my first earned income. My second earned income is a business. Now, here's why the income I earn from RadTech is so important. I, like I've said before, have literally ran a successful for the time being business model of drop shipping. And like I said, I've sold thousands of dollars worth of products, to hundreds of customers. And yeah, I did that when I was like 19. And the only thing that really messed me up is my accounts got suspended because at the time I was also running a marketing agency, which I'm very proud of that. I had 3 clients, and yeah, I was just running multiple accounts at the same time. So it kind of got flagged in the system. All my ad accounts, went down. Uh, I was getting, I couldn't ship out orders, and, I had to pay refunds and all that stuff. And I ended up getting myself in a little bit of debt, mostly because I had no job. This was my only source of income. And when it kind of all fell, I fell with it, right? And I feel like if I had a job, like let's say for example, the rad tech, I would have been able to, recoup my losses within a month. And, you know, the next month after that, work on building up my business once again, right? So yeah, I just feel like I've always been good at, marketing and having that business idea. I'm able to sell, which is very, very important. Like I've said, I've sold hundreds of products to not even hundreds of products, thousands of products to hundreds to thousands of customers. I've signed high ticket clients around $1,000 each. And those 3 clients that I all signed was within the course of like 2 to 3 weeks, which I think was very stupid. I think that's why my accounts got flagged. But I think I've always been pretty business savvy. And I think with the income of a rad tech, it'll be very, 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 I wouldn't say easy, but way less challenging than it was for me when I was 19 years old with no income at all and just trying stuff and just having fun, I guess. That is all going to be my earned income. Rad tech, the potential of 6 figures. business, which is going to be sales. I don't know what I'm going to sell, but it's going to be marketing, all that, anything that has to do with online marketing, online sales and stuff like that. And the potential for that is, who knows, right? It could be, I can make $1 million a year, 2 million a year, 3 million a year, or I can make just an extra 30,000 on top of my income that I'm earning as a rad tech. Any money counts, but those are all my earned income. Now, here's where the earned income really turns into something huge, and it blossoms into generational wealth. Passive income. So with the money that I'll be making from my rad tech, which is like 4 times the amount of money I'm making now, and with the money I'm going to make from my business and all my entrepreneurial ventures, it's all going to be dumped into my passive income. So first passive income is YouTube. I didn't realize this until I started doing YouTube. It is very, very important to get equipment. There's so much stuff I want to do that I'm not able to do because I don't have the right camera. I don't have the right mic. I don't have the right lenses, everything, right? I don't have the right lighting. Even I was looking at lights. Lights cost like $300, $400, $500. Like there's so much things that you need to put into YouTube if you want to progress. Like I really want to delve into filmography. Like I want to, take on the role of a producer, take on the role of a director, you know, and, that's going to take a lot of money to invest in that. And like I said, YouTube is passive income. You will always make money on the videos that you post on YouTube. As long as somebody's watching it, it could be 10 years from now, you will always make money on your YouTube. So that is a source of passive income. The second source of passive income, which I'm really excited about, is rental properties, right? While I'm talking about this, I'm going to be putting, screenshots and stuff up to, help you guys out to understand what I'm saying. Because even I sort of don't understand what I'm saying fully because obviously I don't do real estate as of right now. My timeline in my head, I'm thinking by 28, I'm going to be working as a rad tech. By 29 to 30, I should be able to afford my first rental property. If I bought a $200,000 rental property and I put 20% down, and I'll show all the fees and stuff like that, everything is around 3% annual increase, and I hold the property for about 20 years, so I don't sell this property until I'm 50. The total profit over those 20 years that I will make is $400,000, right? And that is just nuts to me because can you imagine if you had 10 properties, if you had 100 properties, the gain after, 20 years would be crazy. And on top of that, it's a really, really, really viable retirement option. If you look at the amount of cash flow that this one property would produce annually at around the 20-year mark, it will be producing around $15,000 a year. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but like I said, imagine you had 100 properties. You could be making $1.5 million a year by the time, let's say, it takes a total accumulation of, 10 years of, compounding profit from every single business venture, from your job, from wherever you're getting your money from, and you're able to successfully have 100 properties that is bringing you $15,000 a year. You could be making $1.5 million a year doing absolutely nothing. Building a real estate or a rental portfolio is a really, really good way to plan for retirement. The plan is definitely to take all my income from everything that I'm making and just dump it into real estate and build my real estate portfolio. And hopefully in the future, like when I'm like 50 to 60, I could just stop working altogether. Maybe I'll be tired of doing YouTube. Maybe I'll be tired of doing whatever I'm doing. And I just want to live the rest of my days just chilling. And it's way better if I'm making 1.5 million a year, right? Or even more, because we're not including the potential of me working on a business for like 25 years, how much money that would make me, and how much of that money I would put into real estate. And now we're talking crazy numbers. Like you could be making 5 million a year from real estate, 10 million a year from real estate, even more, right? So real estate is really the game plan for retirement. I'm not even thinking about, a retirement plan from my job as a rad tech. In fact, I really only want to work as a rad tech for like 3 to 4 years, get the initial money, dump it into real estate, dump it into my business so I'm able to replace my rad tech income with the income from my passive and from my business income. So yeah, to basically wrap this all up, I'm gonna try to utilize all the mistakes that I've made, all the lessons I've learned. I'm gonna try to apply them to what I'm doing for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, for the next 15 years, and set myself up for generational wealth and freedom. And it's all about delayed gratification. It's all about understanding that what you do today might not give you a result tomorrow, but keep doing it because you're going to see those results in years to come. And time flies, right? Time flies. And in a blink of an eye, it's going to be 5 years from now. And it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be either you're finally understanding, which is not bad, right? It's never too late to start investing. It's never too late to make the right decisions. But one of two things is going to happen. You're going to finally realize what you need to do to get yourself in gear, to set yourself up in the future, which then in 5 years after that, you're going to reach to option two regardless. But option two would be that you thank yourself, you thank your prior self, you thank your old self for setting down the foundation, laying the bricks for you to prosper and enjoy life. Yeah, so if you take anything from this video, invest in yourself, whether that's money, whether that's your mental health, whether that's physically, invest in yourself, come to appreciate delayed gratification, and you will be happy later on in life. Life goes on, be happy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.